All right, so we're working on getting these manifolds bolted back up. Right now it's just sitting there loose. I've got a couple nuts on top of this front one here just to hold it in place, and there's no bolts going through the manifold into the head yet. It's just sitting there, but it is sitting on top of the cat, and that was a little bit of a process to get that to happen. This back cat, I finally got lined up and got 2 bolts through the back side of it. That's the one I had to replace, and that's why you see the new nuts and bolts, because the ones that were sticking up through the top like this broke off as I was taking it out. So, and that's something that you have to deal with a lot with exhaust, especially something that's older, has been on there for a while. You can see how rusted this manifold is. The bolts rust to it, the nuts rust to the bolts, and they become one. So it's quite common when you're taking exhaust parts apart. So just be mindful of that. But what I did is I put the cat onto the exhaust below first and bolted it together, and then after I bolted the cat to the exhaust flange below, then I raised this up. You know, I set the head with the exhaust manifold already on it, so all I did is kind of pinch the two together and bottom up. I put this bolt in there and then just pinched them together and got it lined up, and then I got me another washer and a nut on the bottom and got those screwed in while I had it pinched together. So it was a little bit of a process, but we got that on now. So all I got to do is tighten those down, and I got to put 2, one here and one over here in the front, and then we'll have that all bolted together. Then I can get the front all bolted together, and then we can start on putting the rest of the engine back together. So you seen the part where we torqued all the head bolts down. So what we got to do now is we got to put the camshafts back in. We got to put all of our and then we got to put all of our lifters and rockers back in. Well, actually, we got to put the lifters and rockers in first, and then put the camshafts in, and you know, of course, the timing sprockets, timing chain. All right, for the missing bolts, the 2 in the back one and this one in the front one, I went to Home Depot and I got 5/16 by 2.5 inch bolts with nuts, and just bolted, put the bolt right through there and put the nut on the back side. 2.5 inch is really, I don't think you'd want to go any smaller than that. I ran out of washers, that's why you don't see one on this one, but I don't think it really needs it. I think it'd be fine without it. All right, so we got all this put back together. Everything's bolted up. And we're getting to put the lifters back in. Here's one of them. This one's good. I'm trying to squeeze. You probably can't tell, but it's not going anywhere. All right, see this one? That's a collapsed lifter. Shouldn't be moving like that. So, once again, I'm telling you, this thing is I'm cursed with this thing or something. I don't know. This car is cursed, one of the two. Anyway, so I'm having to stop again and order some new lifters. Now, this is obviously nothing new. I've had these lifters sitting here since the day I pulled them out 2 years ago. So, you know, should I check them? Absolutely. Nobody's fault but my own. But now I'm going to wait another 4 days to get some lifters for this thing. Alright, this is very messy, but all I'm doing is dropping these lifters back in. And the reason why it's messy is because I've soaked them for the last couple days in oil, just to make sure that they, you know, had oil in them. Because this engine obviously has not had oil in the top of the engine for 2.5 years. So everything I'm doing, I'm making sure is extremely lubricated while I do it. And then I'm going to pour oil on top of the engine before I start it as well. Once I get the valve covers and everything on, or right before I put the back valve cover on, because that's the only way I'll get it in there. But anyway, all I'm doing is I got these soaking, and then I'm just pulling them right up. I'm just pulling them right out of there with a magnet and dropping them right down into the engine. All right, this is what we got next. Gotta install the camshafts and all the timing set up, which I've got all new chains, I've got all new guides, I've got everything over there at the car. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and swap the guides and the chains out for new ones, put that together, and then we'll drop that in to the head as an assembly. All right, you see that dot right there and that triangle? That's how you line up your timing for this engine. Now, as you can tell, it's a better view of it. Mine is lined up, and so that means that your piston is at top dead center. Now, it could be bottom dead center, so you have to check your piston depth. You want your piston to be all the way up top. So that's where we're at now. Our piston's all the way up top. So the bottom of our engine's in time. So now we can put the time together on the top of the engine. All right, you can see I've just slid all this stuff together, but the tensioner is just sitting there in between them. This colored chain link is lined up with that notch. This colored chain link is lined up with that notch. So now we're going to take that and drop it in. Here it is, just sitting in place, and I've already started putting the caps on. Just set them down. And all I did is just start the screws so far. Okay, these are the roller rockers that go in there, and as you can tell, they're extremely dirty. Right up under here is a small hole that the oil is supposed to go through and feed through this side, and that oil keeps everything oiled up. Well, they are completely clogged. Here's all the other ones I've started cleaning on, and all I'm doing is taking the brake cleaner and taking the straw and putting it right in that hole that the oil's supposed to be going in, and then blasting it out. And then I'm putting them in here in this bottle so that I can, you know, finish cleaning them up. All right, so I got all the caps tightened down, torqued down. I got the sprockets put on both front and back. You can tell they're both different. That one goes in the back, this one goes in the front. Also, you'll notice right here, I am short one rocker arm. I got it ordered, I'm waiting on it. I'm going to go ahead, obviously, and keep on keeping on getting this thing together. And when I get that rocker arm, I'll just slip it right up underneath the camshaft when I get it in. I'll show you all how to do that, if I can remember. Hopefully I won't be in a hurry when I get it in. But anyway, that's where I'm at so far. I'm showing y'all step by step. You know, I mean, it's be boring to watch me tighten torque all these bolts down. So I'm just showing y'all step by step. But so far it's, you know, pretty simple. These, when you put these sprockets on, there are timing marks. See that? It's almost like a play button or a triangle. That's one of them. And then on this one, there's a dimple right there on top. So you got your black links lined up 12 o'clock, right, on each side. And then you want to do the same thing with these timing marks. Have these lined up 12 o'clock. Now you can see this one is actually a little off. See, this is the mark over here, and the play buttons over here, or the triangle. So I've got to get that straightened up. All right, you got to get your upper or inner timing chain guides in first before you put the chain sprockets on. And when you lower this chain down in here, you want to have it on the sprocket so you can slide it right onto the camshaft. All right, you can see my timing marks here, and you can see the triangle there. So we're timed up on this one. Now I'm going to go down to the bottom crank sprocket, and I'm going to time that one up, and then I'll jump over here to this top and time it up. All right, I don't know if you can tell, but this is loose enough that this correct chain link will go just about anywhere, but it can't go anywhere. It's got to go right there. Where's the dimple? Right. So it's gotta go right there. All right. See, that's timed up there with the dot. And then slide your lower or outer timing chain guides in. Make sure, this big one has got that sleeve back behind it. Make sure you get your sleeve in. And then your one on the front side, get that in. I put my two bottom bolts in and just run them pretty much all the way down, but not tight. And then I can put my top in. All right, I can't show y'all the top because I can't get to it. But you can go ahead and tighten this one down before you put your tensioner in. All right where that oil stain is, right behind that chain is where the oil or the timing chain tensioner slides in. Obviously you can't even see, well, you can just barely see it, but I'm going to slide that in. And all right, all three timing marks lined up. We got the after we lined up the timing marks, we put the other guides in, the front or outside guides, and then after that we screwed our cam gears in, and then I just put the tensioner in. You can just barely see it right down there in the middle of that oil stain, and it's pushing up against the guide. Now I haven't released it yet. That's what I'm about to do now. So before you release the tensioner, and all you do is go back between the timing guide and between the chain and the timing guide, and then pry out, and that'll make it pop out. Before you do that, you want to make sure all your timing marks are correct. Okay, I've bolted down the bottom of the intake plenum. It's a two-piece, that's the bottom. And I've just set the back valve cover on there. I'm about to tighten it down now. Alright, I don't know if I can do this with one hand or not, but basically what I've done, you can see the lobes sideways now. Jump box to the car, and just bumped it over very little bit at a time. So basically I'm going to slide this right up underneath there. Slip it over top of the lifter, and you can see I got to get it over top of the valve spring now. Oh, I'm not going to be able to do this with one hand. Okay guys, there it is. And now I did end up changing my method of attack. I put it over the valve spring side first, and then I had it coming at a diagonal this way, you know, because obviously because of the cam lobe it wouldn't come straight. And then I pried up on that and pushed it over, because when you pry up it compresses the valve spring and gives you a little bit more room to work with. But it popped right over, no problem. All right, so I put the front valve cover on, bolted it down, put the coil packs on, bolted them down, just slip the wiring harness back over the screws where they go. I put the, you know, pulled the wiring harness back over top, which only goes to the coil packs and the injectors. So I plugged all that stuff up. Then it also goes to this resistor here. So I just, you know, pulled the wiring harness over, connected everything back, put the top plenum on. It's just sitting in place right now. You have to kind of wiggle that into place to get it all the way down, because it wants it, you know, it's hitting on both sides. So it's a real tight fit, but it goes in there pretty easy. So I wiggled that down in there. It's just sitting there. I got to tighten that up now. All right, got that plenum bolted down. I put all the vacuum lines on, connected up all the electrical connectors, put the air box in, connected the throttle, connected all the water lines, the hoses, put the belts on. I did not put this, as you can see, that motor mount there is not connected. It's broken. I'm gonna have to get a new one. I've got a new one for this already. I just haven't put it on. So what I'm doing right now is the oil is draining. I'm gonna put some oil in it, and then we're gonna see what happens. All right, 2.5 years later, I know the battery slapped dead, and that's all I know what to expect. Other than that, I have no idea what to expect. Might blow up my face, who knows. But we're about to start this thing. We'll try. All right, take two. Charged up the battery pack a little bit. Take three. Something doesn't sound quite right, but I'm hoping once it gets some oil pressure built up, that's going to go away.